Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed Pop the Trunk Podcast Hall of Fame, Recency Bias Radio. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, but I won't be dealing with the normal introduction during this video, ladies and gentlemen. I am not even in the mood to be my normal self, ladies and gentlemen. What I have witnessed over feeds the last 24 hours, it has all pretty much vindicated my entire It's a Trap rant 100%. In that rant, I brought up how Tyler was trying to use the black audience. He was trying to use the black players for his own personal gain to make himself appear to be Lifeguard Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a CV and a resume that you can go back and watch my BB20 rants. I have been well documented in exposing this fool for who he truly is. I feel like the majority of people are just now catching up to what I've always known. But just because you're late does not mean I do not welcome you to the Tyler Expose party, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of people deserve this smoke. And while I will say that this is one of the lowest moments for me as someone who has watched this show or has watched feeds, this is one of the most influentially positive moments for this black community within this community, because I believe we have finally reached that tipping point, that breaking point of no return, ladies and gentlemen. And now it comes down to, what are we going to do with this? We need to mobilize. First things first, we need to mobilize. We need to work together to contact all of these different media publications that clearly took advantage of all of this Black Lives Matter stuff when it was convenient, when these protests first jumped off. We need to contact these people, and we need to make sure and hold them accountable to make sure that they continue that same momentum and keep that same energy towards Allison Grodner, CBS Viacom, and everyone involved in all of this. We need to make this a public stink for everyone to gain information from, and for everyone that's not even following this season to be able to be put up to speed with what's going on in a quick manner, because this is unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for the people in the back that haven't been watching feeds, that want that detail that only I can provide to show you all why we must mobilize, why we must jump further on code, I'm going to explain that to you. Because last night, ladies and gentlemen, Bay and Day are still on the block. As you all know, the veto ceremony happens on Monday afternoons each week. Now, this week was special because Labor Day happened to happen on the same day as the veto ceremony. And ladies and gentlemen, I would love to be able to be off today and enjoy my Labor Day. But unfortunately, black fans of this show don't have that luxury because we are stressed out and we are vicariously dealing with the PTSD that Bailey and Davon have to deal with because some spoiled, pampered, and coddled white boy named Tyler Crispin decided he wanted to all of a sudden become an abolitionist overnight. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to dive right deep into it to explain to all of you what's going on. Tyler last night, all of a sudden, had a moment of clarity where he just decided, I want to gather Bailey and Davon together in the have-not room to confess some things to them. He takes Bailey and Davon into the have-not room. He puts his shades on, then he starts crying. It's funny. This is the first guy I've ever seen pull off the white girl crying technique. But that says a lot about how much of a beta male he is. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the strategy of it all. Tyler decides he's not only going to pander to these two black women by mentioning how they're both here for a bigger purpose than he is. He's not only going to mention how Davon is clearly a single mother who needs the money that comes from the opportunity that is this season, but he also got both of these sisters' hopes up, believing that Tyler would self-evict because he just wants to go home to be with Angela and her cookbook. So he went out of his way to approach Bay and Day. He went out of his way to tell them he felt guilty because he realized they never sold him out to Danny. He went out of his way initially to start this argument between all of these women because he wanted them all to take each other out so he could last longer. Once Tyler realized that plan would not work, when he blew it out of proportion and burned a bridge with Bay himself, then all of a sudden Tyler ended up becoming content with just self-evicting. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, his mentality towards wanting to evict himself from this game stems from the idea that Tyler is aware that he is not in control of this game like he was in control of BB20. Understand, I brought up during my BB20 rants. You can check them out from 2 years ago. I have exposed this bum for who he truly is. That's why he blocked my original Twitter account. Let's keep it a bean here. Tyler is used to and accustomed to coming into this game with a pregame alliance that dominates, an overpowered twist he gains in the middle and early game. And he's also used to having everyone in the game bringing information to him, similarly to how Cody is getting information brought to him now. That's why Cody and Tyler are having their little tiff. That's why Tyler can read the tea leaves in the room and he knows he has no shot to win this game because Cody is already on to what Tyler was up to with the women. So I must provide this context to explain why Tyler chose right now to all of a sudden be pro-black. It was because he realized, I'm going to fuck around and make jury, and I don't want to be in that jury house for so long if I don't have a chance to win. I'm better off just leaving. And here's another thing. Clearly, Tyler is being fed information from outside the house because Angela, the same morning that Tyler tried to self-evict, or he acted like he wanted to self-evict, Angela got on social media and said she wouldn't be surprised if Tyler asked Christmas to throw him up. Now, from an editorial standpoint, on the TV show, the casual audience would automatically think this is a complete 180 because they are portraying this entire story to be what it isn't. They aren't telling the truth to the casual audience because they're trying to cover up the racism. So understand the conflict of interest here, ladies and gentlemen. You have Tyler claiming he wants to self-evict when he really doesn't. He claims Christmas is his number one ally, but he's asking her to throw him up in tears. Allison Grotner couldn't allow this, because if she allowed this, they would have to scrap the first 4 weeks of the edit and give a 2-hour episode just to get the real people up to speed on the real fucking story. They couldn't do that. So they have to continue the story that isn't the truth. The only way to continue that story that isn't the truth is to convince Tyler to renege on what he said he was going to do. So this is 2 times in a row now. Tyler claims he wanted to do something to prove himself to black people. And this is 2 times in a row where he has gone out of his way to set up a trap for Bay and Day. Whether he did it on purpose this time doesn't matter. Because he either did it because he was selfish or he did it because he's vile and hates Bailey. Regardless, there is no middle ground or gray area here. Tyler is a dickhead no matter if it's heads or tails when you flip the damn coin. He's Two-Face. This motherfucker is Harvey Dent. How dare you go up to Davon and tell her she's here for a bigger purpose than you are? And then literally all it takes is for Christmas to pop out some alcohol and for Allison Grotner to step in. And then all of a sudden, you're perfectly fine with not caring about all the things that you said mattered more to you than just the game. And see, that's my problem. There's people on social media legitimately defending Christmas and Tyler here. The same people who acted like, oh, those bullhorns or those megaphones were cheating because that's coming from an outside source. Notice how those same people don't consider it cheating when Tyler considers self-evicting the same day Angela says he might. So, do you see what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? We have people selectively acting like something doesn't exist when it's convenient for them in the moment, and them selectively acting like it does exist when it's convenient for them in the moment. We have people trying to tell us that black people are playing the victim card, but the same people saying we're playing that card are trying to use projection to make Tyler the real victim here by saying he didn't use Black Lives Matter in his pitch to them. He did. He absolutely did. He wouldn't have said they are here for a bigger purpose if Black Lives Matter wasn't the undertone of what the purpose was. See, these people are trying to argue with us over semantics because they know we are in the right place to argue here. They have to distract us with a whole bunch of nothingness, whole bunch of nothing burgers to keep our eyes off the prize because they don't want this game changed. What did I say in a previous rant? These people are traditionalists. They'll never call this shit out for what it is, racism, because it doesn't benefit them to call it out because they like the game the way it is. Do you see that? If you like it the way it is, what incentive do you have to keep it a buck? So understand, ladies and gentlemen, Tyler did all of this. It was so unnecessary. This is the same type of gameplay that lost him the game. But I'd argue this is worse. Tyler, you thought the way people treated you after BB20 was bad. What you just did over the past 24 hours was worse than that times 5. Because now it looks like you're going out of your way to fuck with these women. Now it looks like you're going out of your way to psychologically give them hope. Now it feels like you use them just to have a tiny little segment in the edit to make you look like a white savior. Now do y'all see why I called him Lifeguard Jesus for 2 years? See, people think the majority of my rants is just me just talking, but I actually call it a rant to mislead you into thinking I'm not as intelligent as I am. When people hear the word rant, they assume you're going to talk at the lowest frequency level. But I actually have the highest frequency in this fucking community. That's the truth. So the rant is meant to bring you in with low expectations. And then when the frequencies are too high for you, that's when the people comment with hate. But I don't even care about their hate anymore. Because each week that goes by this season, all of my work the past 3 years are vindicated more. So really, the RBR fan base that has stuck by me for 3 years, we're the ones who truly understand the struggle for what it is, because I was fighting these battles by myself. Now I actually have backup. And that's why I'm telling everyone, black folks, we have to mobilize. We have to be united here. We need to make sure that they pay for what they allow to go down, ladies and gentlemen. And see, I got plenty of notes, okay? I can go to these notes at any moment. But I need to drive the point home, ladies and gentlemen, that Tyler clearly was going to self-evict. Then all of a sudden he talks to Christmas. Feeds cut. We never even get to see what they talk about. Tyler is up there for 2 hours. We see all these other people discussing what they could be talking about. Never get to see the conversations that matter. And I think it's because Allison Grodner walked in that HOH room with him and Christmas. And here's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas started a fake 4-woman's alliance with Davon, Danny, and Nicole. The alliance was so damn fake, neither of the 4 women could even come up with a name for it. And Davon was smart to never say the name, because at the end of the day, y'all white folks got to prove yourselves to him. Y'all got to prove yourselves to her, not the other way around. Y'all the ones that's been out of pocket. And that's why I believe Grodner pushed Christmas to go push for a women's alliance so Christmas wouldn't look racist this week. And I think Tyler, by him attempting to self-evict himself but not going through with it, Tyler kind of threw all of the weight of being racist this week on Christmas for not going through with that plan. But if we know that Tyler and Christmas are like this and they are ride or dies, then how do we know they both weren't just in on this together? And ladies and gentlemen, here's another thing. Tyler allowed Bailey and Davon to walk into the veto ceremony today without even knowing what was going to happen. He let them both walk up in there thinking that the veto would be used. And what makes it worse is Tyler helped Bailey come up with her speech during the veto ceremony, knowing he already flipped right back into saying, fuck y'all black people. And there are people still saying, it's a game. It's a game move. If it's just a game, why do you resort to being racist to win it? If we're at the arcade and I see Tekken in the arcade and you're about to beat me in Tekken, let's say you have one more strike you have to hit me with, whether I guard it or not, I'm done. And then I care so much about losing or winning, I decide to punch you in your face. That throws you off your game completely because I just hit you with a low blow. I changed the rules on the fly to allow me to beat you. Now, what if I punch you in your mouth and then say, it's just a game, and I point at the arcade game? Well, I chose to bring certain things into this game that up until this point, white people have said has never been a factor in it. Now when a white person tries to weaponize this as a factor to help his reputation and it backfires, now it's just a game move again. But if a black person had used this for their own game, they would say it's pulling the race card. So why is a white person allowed to pull the race card to benefit their reputation, but a black person isn't allowed to use the race card to show that they're being manipulated in a racist fashion? Do you see the double standard here? Do you see the selective outrage and how people will defend Tyler for this? But When it comes down to Bailey or Davon being mistreated for no reason, being targeted for no reason, they act like that's just gameplay. Well, if that's the case, if what Tyler did with these two sisters is just gameplay, then the wall yelling is just gameplay. Then the banners are just gameplay, right? You got to call everything just gameplay then. See, you can't be EA Sports is in the game and then all of a sudden cry foul when someone white gets exposed. You got to call it down the middle, coach. You got to call it down the middle. Now, let's go through these notes, ladies and gentlemen, because we're 15 minutes in. I don't want to make this too long, but I want all of you to have the facts in your head so you know how to mobilize yourself when it comes to pushing this narrative so more media outlets know what to do with this. On Sunday night, out of nowhere, around 5:55 p.m., Tyler talks to Davon saying he wants to talk to her and Bailey. He then follows Davon to the have-not room, and Tyler starts acting like he wants to self-evict out of guilt for putting Bay and Day, in the position of being caught up in this mess. He claims he doesn't want to be there anymore, so now Tyler, Bailey, and Ian all want to stop playing this season at the same time. Now, what does it say about this season? What does it say about how terrible it is that you have two white people that are in good positions compared to the black folks, and they are so spoiled and coddled, they don't even want to be there? What does that say about how flawed your game is? It says a lot. So this further shows how spoiled they are and how overrated they are as players because they can't even deal with the little adversity they've dealt with compared to the black women. If the game is this hard for them on easy mode, when they don't get their way, they wouldn't last a week as a black player in this game. Facts. And the most ironic part about this is Tyler said Bailey was the one who was insufferable when she doesn't get her way. But Tyler only wants to quit now because he knows he has no chance to win. He thinks he's slick. His game is ruined because he made mistakes. And those mistakes made Cody question him. If Cody wasn't growing so distant, I doubt Tyler even cares, just like he didn't care when Christmas first won HOH. Keep in mind, he wanted Bay and Day gone when Christmas first won HOH. Okay? And like he didn't care during BB20. I think Tyler is pump faking. So understand, ladies and gentlemen, when this was happening in the moment, and see, this is the thing. I had a Patreon exclusive rant live stream I was doing after Sunday night's episode. And that's when all of this stuff is happening while I'm ranting about something that's already happened, right? So I wasn't able to really discuss this on Sunday night's feeds. On Sunday night's rant, but I can discuss it now. It's also clear to me Grodner may be trying to help Tyler change his reputation with the black community by having him say this to these women. I think Tyler thinks Bailey and Davon will tell him not to sacrifice his game, but Bailey straight up told him to get Christmas to use the veto on Davon so they know it's real. And I thought that was very smart on Bailey's part, because by her trying to get him to push for this, Bailey gained a lot of information from it not working. She figured out that she is clearly the main target by Christmas. She figured out Christmas is clearly working with people Bailey thought she was close to. She figured out that there was clearly a plan to come for her a week ago. So Bailey figured out a lot of information just from the fact that Christmas wouldn't take Davon off the block. So that's something very important for me to mention. So kudos to Bailey for calling this bluff, because now Tyler will look twice as bad if he goes back on this like he went back on his word 2 other times. Davon talks to Bailey after Fee's return. Bay and Day even mention how Tyler isn't looking as happy now that Cody isn't as close to him. They even mention how Enzo is starting to notice Cody not being that close to him as well. So Davon is hoping if Tyler goes through with this, the 4 black players can move forward with Enzo to make moves. But I'm worried they trust Enzo too much. Tyler decides to go to talk to Christmas about wanting to self-evict, but as soon as he says it's all his fault that Bay and Day are on the block, the feeds get cut again. Then Bailey and Davon say a prayer with each other, then discuss another wall yeller from earlier, who allegedly mentioned Tyler, but we now know the wall yeller said Tyler and Christmas have a final too. So the wall yeller may have also influenced Tyler's decision to want to self-evict here. If he had heard that wall yeller in any way, shape, or form, most likely Tyler was like, there's no way I'm winning this game. I'm ready to go home. And here's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. When the wall yeller did what they did yesterday, they also tried to expose David having the twist. And from what I'm being told, when this wall yelling incident first transpired yesterday, Cody, Nicole, Danny, all the people who got screwed over from the wall yether the first time, they essentially started screaming in the backyard so no one could discern what was said. So that's important for me to mention as well. The paranoia is at an all-time high. They also mentioned Kevin's theory that the wall yelling only happens when Ian is outside, so it could be Ian fans behind it trying to get him to flip. But before they get into more detail, the feeds cut again. An hour or so later, Bay thinks about the idea this could all be a publicity stunt for Lifeguard Jesus to look good in the edit. How Christmas will never actually get her to throw him up, but there's still is time to change. My fault. I wrote this wrong. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. An hour or so later, Bailey thinks about the idea this could all be a publicity stunt for Lifeguard Jesus to look good in the edit. How Christmas will never actually get her to throw him up. But they'll still air this scene to change Tyler's image to casual fans. Understand, if they were to allow this, it would be catastrophic. I'd argue there would be wall yellers the rest of the season if they aired this bullshit and tried to make Tyler look good. So that's something for us to look forward to, because most likely it's going to air on Wednesday night's episode, because this all happened before the veto ceremony. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday's episode is going to be very polarizing. I'm calling it right now. Because this is racially incendiary beyond levels we ever thought before was possible. This is a Hall of Fame circle jerk. And if Christmas wasn't so racist, and if Christmas was so racist that she wouldn't honor someone's wishes for them to get no blood on their hands, it shows Bay and Day how badly she wants one of them to go home, and that contributes to why Bailey knows that without a doubt Christmas is coming for her. And Danny came in the HOH on Tyler and Christmas but got kicked out, so Danny is now paranoid downstairs with Nicole in her punishment suit about Tyler spending so much time with Christmas because they thought they weren't even that close. So Danny shares the plan of backdooring Tyler at the next double eviction with Nicole, and they both discuss how they assume Tyler is trying to look good for TV. So this shows both sides were skeptical about Tyler's true intentions here, ladies and gentlemen. You could be black or white, you still think Tyler ain't shit. So this isn't even about race anymore. This is about the character of Tyler. He's a sleazeball. He's a snake oil salesman. That's what he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's a used car salesman. And this really shows how bad Tyler's acting is. Now, around 9:45 p.m., Christmas talks to Davon in the storage room. They agree they need to start a 4-woman's alliance to justify Christmas throwing up a guy who we believe to be Tyler over Davon. Davon tried to get Christmas to include the alliance to a 5, but she would only do the 4 because she doesn't trust Bailey. Davon and Christmas then go upstairs and talk to Nicole and Danny in the HOH room. Then all 4 women agree they need to save women this week because they could mess around and only have 3 in jury. Didn't I mention this in my It's a Trap rant? The idea that Christmas told Bailey she wanted men out and hates women leaving, but she threw up 2 black women. Well, now she's finally doing something about it, but it took Tyler quitting for it to happen. And even though I'm happy Bailey has a much higher chance of staying if this does go through, I don't like how this feels like a handout. So it's important for me to show you all, even in the moment, I was worried that this would be perceived as a white savior complex on Tyler's end, and it'll be looked like as an instant rebrand on Christmas's end, when both of them had no business even being okay with doing this much. And if Tyler truly regrets sending Janelle out the door because he did Danny and Nicole's job, and if Christmas is his number 1, why is he okay with Christmas virtually doing the same move all over again by going for Bay and Day? This shows Tyler's full of shit. This shows his regret is just an argument of convenience in the moment for the edit so Janelle fans don't come for his neck. But he's already fucked shit up with black fans so much, you were better off pissing off Janelle fans. I'm being honest with you, Tyler. You're dumb as fuck, low-key. But with that being said, the season just got interesting because production stumbled into a situation where now they have to change their entire edit into a complete 180 if they go through with this. They told us on Sunday night Christmas is after Bay and Day because Bay tried talking game with her too late and told her she's too close to Day. Also, they said her number 1 is the same guy she's going to have to backdoor on Wednesday night if Tyler gets his way. This might have to be a 2-hour episode to explain to a casual audience who's already been misled beyond belief, Coach. Can we keep it a bean? They've also shown us a supercut of Danny bashing both Bay and Day with Sunday's flashbacks. So her hitting a 180 and trusting this 4-woman deal with Davon doesn't make sense either. So she'll probably be loyal to this deal until Tyler walks out the door. Well, Danny already done snitched about this deal to Cody. And at the end of the day, Christmas has already snitched about this deal to Tyler. So this women's alliance didn't even last a whole day. So that tells me 100% Grodner put Christmas up to doing that to make the casual audience believe Christmas was less racist. I think this is all connected. The women talk for a while but never decide on a name for their four women's alliance. That's a massive red flag for any new alliance trying to legitimize themselves, especially if you want to be in the editors working together. If you don't come up with a name, talking about, oh, let's wait till tomorrow afternoon's the deadline, girls. Tomorrow afternoon's the deadline, you know. And Davon left the room, then came back to use the bathroom, so she clearly don't trust none of these chicks. And they acknowledge the fact that she came back to use the bathroom because there's a bathroom downstairs, so she clearly doesn't trust none of these chicks. So at the end of the day, no one bought this alliance in the little four-woman deal that was even incorporated in it. So it makes sense why Davon didn't want to look like Boo Boo the Fool by coming up with the name for the alliance. But I know what white folks are going to say. If Davon would have came up with a name, maybe they would have been loyal to it. Because they don't want to admit that these white folks are incapable of working with black folks. All they want to do is make black folks look stupid in this game. They don't want to ever give a single black person a chance at the 500K. That seems to be improbable at this point. It seems to be the little racial meetings, the little racial training that they had, the sensitivity training. It seems like they turned up the racism. They made them despise black people more by having to go through those classes. That's what it feels like to me. You know, have you ever got into a traffic accident, then you got to go to traffic school and then you drive more reckless once you get your license back? That's how these white folks are with the bigotry. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so once Day walks out the room, Christmas tells Danny and Nicole she wants Davon to make the final six with them. How Davon feels crossed by Bailey because she said her name. So what Day said to Christmas in the storage room may have manipulated Christmas into thinking Bay and Day are feuding. This could lead to Bay and Day pulling off a Tamar Braxton, Candy Burris type of game this week from mid to late. And the thing is, if they would have been able to pull this off, if Tyler wouldn't have been a baby back bitch, if he would have went through with his words, if he would have truly proven himself to be an ally, ladies and gentlemen, don't get it twisted. It would have been a handout, and I wouldn't have been that much of a fan of it. But at the end of the day, to see two people who are really being targeted for no reason get another chance to play would have still been a good look for a season that has nothing but bad looks. It would have at least been some array of shining light. But ladies and gentlemen, we're not even getting that much of a light shine. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no light. We're just in the upside down. This is Stranger Things, ladies and gentlemen. And we just got to deal with it. Because at the end of the day, the white folks in charge of this show see nothing wrong with what's going on. And because y'all see nothing wrong with what's going on, I hope this show gets canceled forever. Because you are taking for granted the one percentage of your fan base that clearly Tyler has on his mind very often. And you have to ask yourself, if the same people claiming we don't deserve more representation, if their argument is based around the fact that we don't have as much population in this country as we could have, and that's why we don't get representation, well, if that's the case, how come those same population nuts, why don't they ever bring up population when Tyler only focuses on the 10% that doesn't like him, juxtaposed to the 90% that thinks he can do no wrong? You know, I got to drive this point home. Tyler is the damn golden boy. For him to think that he needs approval from black fans, that clearly is him trying to have his cake and eat it too, because outside of black fans, everyone else kisses his ass like his shit doesn't stink. So imagine that. These black players, they're just trying to get half of the benefit of the doubt Tyler gets in every season. And Tyler's doing everything he can to use these black people as a prop to steal their infinity stones and act pro-black in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't make none of this up. Now, Nicole and Danny leave the HOH. Nicole mentions how she noticed 2 alcoholic drinks in the trash as they left out, so they both know that Christmas drank alcohol with Tyler or after talking with him. But she never mentioned Tyler, just a new alliance. This has both women confused what Christmas is really talking about. Danny is truly spooked out by what Tyler may have discussed with Christmas, because it's why she doesn't trust the four as much as she could. But what I find interesting is how they don't question if Day and Bay are truly feuding because Tyler is on their mind. In fact, they seem more threatened by Kevin or David now. It seems the talk was productive because they already prioritized getting men out first next. Then Then Danny and Nicole mention how Cody is low-key bullying Ian, how Ian is someone who won't like that and will hold grudges. So the situation from outside that I mentioned with Cody pushing Ian's buttons and the other 2 times Cody pissed him off before he talked to Kevin have all contributed to Ian owing Cody that smoke. So I was smart for mentioning those details because even the women are noticing it. Then Danny mentions how Cody already said he's nervous to take Ian away from Nicole. So this also proves Cody is doing the bullying in a premeditated fashion. Also, Danny mentions how Ian told Bailey about the Prime 4, but is saying Bailey came up with it on her own. But if you remember from a previous rant, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned how Bailey came up with those numbers indeed on her own because she's that good of a player. So even though Ian lied on Kaser's name, he at least didn't lie on Bailey's, even though he still implicated her for his blunder of a move. So Danny is suspicious of Christmas, but Nicole is telling her to trust her, and Nicole is suspicious of Kevin, but Danny is telling her to trust him. So clearly Kevin picking Nicole and Cody during the HOH comp has Nicole a bit aggy, and Christmas talking to Tyler so long has Danny out of her mind. Especially Christmas. Oh, my fault. Eventually, Christmas will go to Cody and Danny. She will tell them she isn't straying away from the plan, and she will make sure Tyler stays. So there is a reason why Grodner cut off the feeds when Tyler went to the HOH room to discuss game with Christmas. It was to have an intervention upstairs. For all we know, a producer could have stepped in here to stop Tyler, and most black people believe this to be true. And the thing is, earlier today on feeds, Cody confirmed that Grodner stepped in. So now we have the tangible evidence and the feeds to back up our original inclinations, which makes this look even worse. Because Grodner never steps in when a black person wants to self-evict. Meta World Peace? Huh? Huh? Rudy Huxtable? You feel it, dig me? Huh? 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 And, Keisha Knight Pulliam. And of course, you know who I'm talking about when I talk about, Lawan Exum. So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever a black person, when they're tired or fed up of the game, they even convince those black people there could be a power if they self-evict and throw them a bone there. If a white person wants to self-evict, they say, oh, wait, hold up. No. One of these black people gotta go, Tyler. We got too much invested in you. So this tells more black people now more than ever, ladies and gentlemen, that production rigged this entire season. Now people are looking for a boot list. Now people are claiming there is a boot list. Now people are claiming the boot list matches the people who have left so far. Now they have opened up a Pandora's box for themselves to where people don't even believe this game is real anymore. Now people don't even think there is a game. Now people just think these are paid actors that are paid to be racist. So you see what the slippery slope took you down, production? Now your game is losing credibility and prestige. So whoever wins it this season has an asterisk. You've been rewarding racists with $500,000 every damn summer since BB15. We can't help but notice these things. No disrespect to Steve Moses. I don't consider you a racist necessarily. But outside of Steve Moses, for the most part, you have rewarded a racist damn near every season. Let's just call it what it is. All right? You either rewarded a racist or a cop, besides Steve Moses. Okay, ladies and gentlemen? So this makes y'all look bad. Absolutely. And when you are so thirsty to keep Tyler around, but you're not thirsty to keep someone black around, then it just shows us that our lives don't matter to you. And it also shows us we are placeholders. We are here to fulfill a spot because you couldn't have this season without someone with some color. But that doesn't mean you care about us actually being good in the game or successful while we're in it. You just want us there so people can't say you're racist. So essentially, you put us on this season as affirmative action, but you're trying to convince us all that you're pro-black and there's no systemic racism at the same time. Well, make up your damn mind. Now, the next day, let's get to Labor Day's feeds, because I don't have all day and I know y'all don't because it's Labor Day. The next day, Tyler talks to the men and he admits he was going through some things last night, but he's back to normal now. So clearly Tyler, once again, used these black women as a political tool to convince the casual audience he's a good person. Who would have thought Tyler would be the first man to master the WGCT? This bitch not only will be responsible for sending Bailey out the door twice by having his female partner in the game do it, he also has outraged more black people with this little publicity stunt than he ever could have imagined. This is deeper than just gameplay. People have been saying David has to earn his spot by proving he belongs there. And here we have two spoiled white players in Tyler and Ian who take the opportunity for granted so much, even when they aren't the target, they don't even want to be there. And here's another thing. You can't keep saying it's just a game if you're willing to be political to gain an advantage within the game. You can't keep saying it's just a game if you're going to use racist terminology to describe how threatened you feel after making a culturally insensitive move. You can't keep saying it's just a game if every black player is judged to be the same person and player they were when they first played, but not the white counterparts. If it's truly just a game, black players shouldn't have baggage from previous seasons defining who they are as people years later. Facts. Here we have, and see, that's the thing. Any game I've ever played, ladies and gentlemen, I hit the continue button, and I don't continue with the same health bar of the match before. But only black people have to go through a fucking King of the Hill gauntlet where they can't afford to take any damage because every fight they got to carry over the same shit. White folks, on the other hand, they get a sensu bean. Each season, it's like they're a new person. Black folks, not so much. We see y'all. Here we have Tyler, a guy who had it all from a black person's perspective, especially a black fan's perspective of the game. Production preferential treatment, overpowered twists, pre-game alliances, control of the whole game, a showman's, making final two, and then having a successful post-Big Brother career because he was the CBS Golden Boy. That man had 7 things going for him, ladies and gentlemen. The average black person is lucky if they got 2 out of those 7. Let's be honest with ourselves. From a black perspective, Tyler's search to not be considered racist is literally his own selfish pursuit to have his cake and eat it too. He doesn't want to trust or treat black people with respect, but he wants us to not call him out for it on social media. CBS made him look like he could do no wrong in the edit during BB20. So keep this in mind. So the criticism that irks his soul the most are of the voices of black superfans who saw his true colors. The same people who justified the constant lack of representation on Big Brother US by bringing up the populace seem to conveniently forget that same argument could and should be used against Tyler here to show how selfish he is for making this about himself. If only 10% of the BB community hates you, you got it made. That's Tyler. But he harps on the 10% that knows he isn't shit because he knows Sway Lee are the shit. If there wasn't this powerful black couple from Tyler's original season, Tyler would be no different than Nicole acts towards Davon. Think about that. He wouldn't be focused on rebranding himself to a black audience. But because Sway Lee are from his season, he more than anyone else is the guy we look at as the one who benefits the most from racist gameplay. But he didn't win because the jury recognized his game was flawed. Tyler wants the world to view him as a cutthroat player who is the nicest guy you're ever going to meet. But he can't fully become that as long as black people remember how he treated Bailey and Swaggy. So coming into All-Stars, I expected Tyler to play nice until he had to resort back to who he was. This pressure cooker of a game reveals everyone's true nature when money is on the line. My thing, though, is this is a red flag all around because clearly Tyler did this on Sunday night because he was told how black people perceived him outside the game by someone in production. It's no coincidence that Angela also recorded a video mentioning Tyler having Christmas send him home, right before Tyler tried to do that very thing. So that tells me this season is rigged beyond belief. They won't give us an America's twist so America can decide who they want to help out, but they'll help their favorite players exclusively communicate with the outside world to improve on their own reputations? Are you fucking kidding me, production? Do y'all not see how selectively bad this is for this game? Do you not see how they are going out of their way to try to stop the black people? They're trying to limit the black people's strengths. Their strengths is the people who support them. Okay, so we won't have no community support-based twist. But then they'll feed Tyler information. That way he knows whether or not to leave the game from the outside world. And see, that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot act like that's okay and then be mad at some wall yelling. Make up your fucking mind. The same people mad about wall yelling being cheating seem to get real quiet when we mention how this is clearly cheating. But once again, Lifeguard Jesus gets special perks. He isn't held to the same standards other players are in this community, ladies and gentlemen. And here's what hurts the most, y'all. If production can do all that work to try to manufacture a racist player and appearing to be a white savior, they have no excuse for not giving black people better edits, and they now have no excuse for hiding tons of racist things as well from the edit. Now we know for a fact they are not only covering up racism, they are using Bay and Day as props to make their pets look pro-black. But it all backfired because Grodner can't have an orgasm without Tyler in the damn house. Exposed. And ladies and gentlemen, I will be posting this link in the comment section below. It will be in my pinned comment. There is currently a petition on change.org to get Allison Grodner fired from CBS Viacom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 20 years, well, not 20, this is about 15 years too late, but it's late is better than never. That's how I feel, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get her out of here, but I do not want us to become distracted. I do not want these white folks pointing us towards an enemy they're okay with cutting their heads off. I want us to stay focused on the system itself. Because they can get rid of Allison Grodner, hire someone else, and just have them have the same mission statement she had before. It's about purging everything, draining the swamp. It's about making sure the entire regime is cleaned the fuck out. When you start a franchise, you link the GM with the star player you just drafted. If you're trying to market this business, this TV show, this brand, if you're trying to market this as changing and acknowledging their prior mistakes, we need to see changes to acknowledge the prior mistakes in the management team. We need changes in the production team. We need all of these mugs to be furloughed. I'm going to be honest with you. We need all of them to be sent to the shadow realm. Because at the end of the day, they see nothing wrong with this formula. If they see nothing wrong with the formula, they're racist by association. It's that simple. We have been patient. We have sat through countless seasons of the same bullshit. We have been fed the same bullshit. At a certain point, for us not to be fed up should be the surprise. Not that we are fed up. And the amount of people I see on social media, I'm taking mental notes of all of y'all, acting like this isn't no racist gameplay. Okay. Same people that got pictures of Ian Terry as their profile pic on Twitter are talking about, why are you playing the race card? Oh, so that little bitch-ass motherfucker can play the autism card every time he get caught doing some scheming. But if we talk about some shit that is legit racially charged, oh, we're incendiary. See, it just goes to show. The cultural disconnect is what leads to sympathy 9 times out of 10. And it's up to you in your everyday life to meet more people that take you out of your comfort zone so you don't have these biases when you approach different people from different walks of life. If you don't find that to be important for you to do in your normal life, you're not going to find that important to do within the house. So why are these people putting these people in this house that don't find that to be important outside the house? Because they want them to be who they are outside the house within the house, okay? So, look, the plausible deniability, the benign neglect ain't going to work no more. This is the tipping point. I'm being honest here. Y'all gonna have way more people causing lockdowns. Y'all gonna have way more people with megaphones, way more banners. You finna see how much money the black community truly has. Because once you start fucking with the people we hold near and dear, we take it personal because those the only ones we got. Y'all got hundreds of white players y'all could call all-stars because hundreds of y'all have been allowed to be yourselves. So it's easy for y'all to be considered an all-star. Go figure how that works. So when people try to mention how Bay and Day don't even deserve their spot on All-Stars, I scoff at that because at the end of the day, coach, these are probably the same people that thought Cody and Jess were All-Stars. So clearly, people are hating and they're mad. But you know what? You can never be as mad as we are. So how about you sit the fuck down and you let the grown-ups speak? Because the rest of you motherfuckers, y'all are just immature and stupid. I got people trying to tell me, oh, videos like the one you make are why Trump is going to win the election. Bro, I shitted on Biden in my last video. What makes you think I'm just this Democrat guy? Like, bro, you can't just label me as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm what you call a free thinker, ladies and gentlemen. I judge people based off who they are individually, as people. And that's why I'm usually the first one to call people out on their bullshit, because I don't rely on others to give me approval first. And that's exactly why I've been telling y'all for 2 years about the real Tyler, 3 years about the real Christmas. Now people are catching up to speed. So yeah, I'm gonna do my victory lap and I'm gonna gloat a bit, because I feel like if more people were more open to accepting my form of analytics, we wouldn't be in this situation now. So dare I might say, All-Stars would be good if more people weren't so scared to embrace my content. But I guess that's a conversation a lot of white people in this lane, in this community, don't want to have with themselves, because they know if I were to get the attention I deserve and I've earned, there would be no need for anyone to come to their shit. So it's almost the same philosophy of a white person benefiting from racism within the game. These white content creators benefit from racism with the content creation side of it too. Us black creators, we're put in a little corner over here. We tell the truth. These white folks can essentially piggyback off what we say. They can bring in one black guest here, one black guest there, and they can appear to be allies, and they can get away with it, keep their sponsors, and keep their white audience that can't stand our black players. Meanwhile, I keep it a bean about everyone, and for some reason, I'm the guy everyone hates. It just goes to show, if you're not popping, people ain't checking. And people are checking. They just don't have the heart to admit it, that I'm the GOAT. It is what it is. But anyway, so Bailey was right for being skeptical of Tyler because she knows he ain't shit. Devon was fooled by Christmas. And now I don't even see how Christmas thinks Day could ever work with her, Danny, and Nicole, because clearly Christmas didn't change noms to appease Nicole. She's only after Bailey to please Nicole. She only claimed Ian as her untouchable after the fact to cover for Nicole. Christmas is closer to Nicole than any of them. And with their connection to Paul Beta Hamian, it makes sense Christmas would be Nicole's attack dog before Enzo's. So keep this all in mind. Enzo had plans for Bailey, so this move should tell Enzo he is losing his grip on the game as well, because he thought he had Christmas in his pocket more than Nicole did, especially after Enzo instigated Danny and Bailey's talk, which led to Tyler doing all of this. So all of that is very important. Bailey speaks to Kevin around 2:30 p.m., and both of them agree this type of gameplay is cruel. That's when Kevin, of all people, and I've brought up how Kevin doesn't notice the microaggressions a normal black person would notice because he can identify as being biracial or mixed, right? But even Kevin out of his mouth said, this gameplay is sick on a different level. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why tonight's rant is called Sick on a Different Level, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the end of the day, this was all uncalled for. This was all unnecessary. This is almost like, have you ever watched a basketball game? Have you ever watched the end of the game? Have you ever watched how it's sportsmanship to dribble the ball out? Some players are even willing to take a turnover at the end of the game if their team is winning, but the shot clock's going to run out. Instead of shooting that shot and run up the score, the right proper etiquette is to dribble the ball out, get the turnover, hand the ball to the ref, you won the game. Move on. What people don't like is showboating. When people try to hit you with an and one crossover, then try to drop you off with 2 seconds left. The game's already over. What you did has no impact on it. But now, because you did what you did, I'm taking it personal that you got a personal problem with me because you went out of your way to try to embarrass me. That's what Tyler tried to do. That's what Christmas tried to do. But I'd argue both of these dumb fucks embarrassed themselves more than they could ever embarrass these two black queens. And that's the real karma of it all. Margarita today. Nothing crazy. You know, it's Labor Day. So yeah, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what makes this worse is Ian isn't even Christmas's real untouchable. So Bailey knows Christmas threw Ian under the bus to protect her real alliance. So Kevin now also knows Christmas ain't shit, because if she did this to Bailey and then spoke with Tyler for hours just to convince him to stay and keep Day on the block, Bailey knows she was being targeted all along. So Bailey is caught up to these evil players, and she is now realizing what Tyler told her wasn't true. Well, now she's realizing what Tyler told her was true, but he waited to say all of it until there was nothing Christmas was going to do. So in reality, Tyler is the type of guy to show up with a fire hose after the ambulance and the firemen have already put out the fire. He shows up and goes, "Hey guys, I would have put it out if no one was here." We didn't need you, though, so why does that matter? Tyler's trying to do the same very thing. Oh, I would have been willing to fall on my sword, but Christmas didn't allow me to. Then you never fell on your sword, so nothing happened. So why do you think you deserve any kudos for attempting to do something you clearly didn't have all the heart to do? Because let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, he could have just walked out that front door and had his shit packed up by someone who was close to him. If he really was about that action, he would have did that. If he was really about that action, he would have told Bay and Day about Christmas's secret power. Let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen. Tyler did a few things that lets me know he knew premeditatedly he was not going to get on that block. Because if he was truly about what he said he was about supporting these two sisters because they're standing for something that's bigger and deeper than anyone else in this game is standing for, he would have at least told them Christmas has that power. Because if they would have known that, they would have been able to approach Christmas with that information, and they would have also had more leverage to do what? To make sure one of Bay or Day got off that damn block. So we know for a fact that Tyler, he approached both of these sisters with no intention of going up. So fuck what Angela's talking about on Twitter. Fuck what the Tyler dick riders are saying. They just want to rub their fingers through the motherfuckers' Goldilocks. They're weirdos. Fuck what all these other people got to say. Because everything I'm saying is the truth. It is what it is. And honestly, I am dropping this video today. I'm giving y'all a third rant in a row if you're a patron. I'm giving you 2 rants in 3 days if you're public. And I'm doing this at the end of the day out of my love for y'all. Because if I wait an extra day, then drop this tomorrow, it ain't going to hit the same. And we need to make sure people jump on code and sign that damn petition to get that bitch fired. We need to make sure we are mobilized as quick as possible to get things done before Thursday's episode even airs where Bailey gets evicted. We need to make sure these people pay for enabling this racist gameplay and racist season. Without a doubt. You know, in a way, Tyler set Christmas up to look like the only racist so he could appear to be some fake-ass white abolitionist. But if the edit already told us Christmas and Tyler have a final 2, Tyler was setting up Christmas like this just to make... Oh, my fault. Tyler setting Christmas up like this also makes him look stupid because the editors wouldn't know how to explain it either. So make no mistake about it. Grodner stepped in because they've been lying in the edit too long to start telling the truth now. That's the truth behind it all, ladies and gentlemen. If everything was fair in love and war, Tyler would be out the game. Bay and Day would have survived this week. But at the end of the day, the editors would actually have to do their fucking job. For once this season. The editors would actually have to sound more like me by telling an unbiased story. For once this season. Since they are incapable or incompetent, they refuse to do so. So they just said, Tyler, allow racist gameplay. We're keeping you here because you're Lifeguard Jesus, our white savior, and we're going to keep shit moving. And they think their ratings won't take a huge shot because of this. But they will. They will, ladies and gentlemen. You know. And make no mistake about it, the fact that Tyler even got notified about how black people views him outside the game, make no mistake about it. Let me take off my gauntlet for a second. Black community, that right there was an example of our power. So do not become discouraged now. We knew Bay 99.9% was going to go home this week after we read the tea leaves. But understand, Tyler did what he did last night because we put in the work on social media. We made Bailey trend. We did all of the things we should have done to make Tyler feel like, uh-oh. And see, isn't that funny? Tyler does not understand what Bailey and Davon go through until he starts to feel a little PTSD from black people. Do you see that? It's almost like Tyler feels what it is to be a black person when he's ganged up on by black people, but he's perfectly okay with ganging up on black players with white people. So I would love to feel bad for him because I truly can understand what that feels like to be ostracized by another huge group of people that don't look like me. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not someone who goes out of my way to dislike white people every day. In fact, the white people who I don't think are out of pocket, I tend to defend their games often. Like Enzo, for instance. I think he's the least racist out of all of these players. But I think he still benefits from a racist game nevertheless. And for that reason, even if he wins this season, it deserves an asterisk in my opinion. Because the season isn't a legit season. It's been tainted from day one. It's tainted meat, you know? So that's just the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's sad, but it is true, man. You know. I think I lost my spot. Oh, no. Here it is. And that ain't even all of it. Tyler used Black Lives Matter as a prop for his own personal gain. He told Davon he wanted to do this for her as a single mother, only for him not to warn Bailey or Davon about how Christmas wasn't going to use the veto minutes before the ceremony. So clearly this dude wanted these two black women blindsided because his bitch ass didn't speak up. So he had the heart to drag Bay and Day into another trap, but he didn't have the heart to warn them what was coming again, and there are people defending this guy. Now y'all see why I call him Lifeguard Jesus. He can do no wrong in this community simply because he's a white man. He even helped Bailey construct her veto speech even though he already knew she was going to be blindsided. He is a vile piece of shit, and it's about damn time people listen to me in this community because I've known this for 2 years. If you're black and want to self-evict, nobody stops you. If you're white, they lay out the red carpet to show you how appreciated you are. Fuck this show. We need to boycott this bullshit after this season forever. Even Cody admitted on feeds that Grodner stepped in to save Tyler. So the jig is up. This show is not only rigged, but it's now unapologetically racist as well. And also, Danny told Cody about the fake women's alliance Christmas made with Danny, Nicole, and Davon. But Christmas only made it to make herself look less racist by including Davon in it. And now that we know Grodner spoke to Tyler, she also must have spoke to Christmas and told her to include Davon in some bullshit alliance to throw a feminist distraction at the casual audience they won't know any better about. Because Christmas has also snitched on that alliance to Tyler. And so now Tyler and Cody both know that Davon attempted to start a girls' alliance, and they now have the reason to target Day next week, even after Bailey is eliminated. So this season is a complete shit show. So in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, if I had to give you all a quick prediction, David has that twist, which will be able to save him next week. So at the end of the day, I expect a variation of Davon or Kevin to go home next week. That's what I expect. I expect Christmas being the bigoted player she is. I expect Danny being the girl who holds grudges the way she does. I expect both of them, since they've already ran up to the men to save face for an alliance that was fake in less than 24 hours, I expect them to blame Davon for this alliance even being created and erected. And because of that, ladies and gentlemen, I think Davon is set up to be the next boot after Bailey. And I think we are in danger of having both Bailey and Davon not make jury. But to be fair, I think it would be a blessing in disguise for both of them not to make jury. I think it would be a blessing in disguise. So, ladies and gentlemen, those were my thoughts on the last 24 hours of feeds. This has been rant number 18 of Big Brother 22 All-Stars, entitled Sick on a Different Level. I am, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I hope you all enjoy this content. I almost waited till tomorrow, but I felt like y'all needed to hear this now. That way we can mobilize and jump on code as soon as possible. If I'm willing to work on Labor Day to be on code for y'all, I just hope that you take this video, you share it with the people who need to see it, and we all jump on code effectively to make sure situations that just happened at Bay and Day last night can never happen again on Big Brother worldwide, not just in the U.S. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate y'all hanging out with me on this Monday night for an hour. And I'll see you all next time. Deuces.